Welcome back everyone. Time to do another Xbox Series S comparison, and this time between an older, not super old, but definitely an older console that has came out many years ago, and that one is the Xbox One S. And these two I think are kind of like the predecessor and successors to one another. When Microsoft announced the Xbox Series S, the first thing I thought about was the One S and seeing so many, resemblances between the two, and they both looked very similar. And honestly, the Xbox One S was one of my favorite design consoles ever. I love just the matte white finish and just the black bottom bar, and it just looks so clean, and I don't think there's ever going to be a console that looks just like it, that looks way better in my opinion. The Series S, it looks definitely good, but I don't really think it's like that much better or that much worse in my opinion. In a way, it is kind of funny looking because it does have that circular, fan up top or whatever it is, but pricing wise, this is where probably there's going to be the biggest difference between the two, if I'm being completely honest. With the Xbox Series S, it is costing about $299 to pick up. That's how much I spent on mine, and I think that's a pretty reasonable price. Now, the Series X costs $499, which is definitely a lot of money too, but I think $299 is definitely a pretty decent price tag for people who are just now entering the whole entire Microsoft space and trying to start gaming and stuff. It's definitely not a bad place to go to in my opinion. Now, the Xbox One S previous to the Series S release was costing $199 in a ton of places, and I think that price tag too is actually pretty decent as well, but you can pick it up for way cheaper than that. I think I picked mine up for like around $120-ish not too long ago, so I think that's also a pretty decent price to pay for this device as well. But like I said, since the Series S has been out, you can probably pick it up for even cheaper than that. So going through that price tag section, I can definitely tell you, going from the Xbox One S to the Series S, there is an upgrade in a lot of key areas, but I will still say if you own an Xbox One S, you can probably make it last for a little bit longer. There's still a lot of similarities, and there may even be some areas where the One S is actually a better console overall than the Series S, which may sound super crazy. But starting off with the design, there is a lot of similarities with the design too, like I stated, the matte white finish, black bottom bar, but you will automatically see a humongous difference on the front. The Series S does not have any disc slot or anything like that. The Xbox One S does have a disc slot, and that's a huge, that's a humongous advantage for that specific console. You can play all those CD games that you have, Blu-ray DVDs, all that different stuff, and that is a humongous asset for the One S. Now, on the outside of the One S, outside of that, you have two HDMI ports on the back, two USB ports, an Ethernet, and then a USB port on the front. The Series S does not have two HDMI ports. It only has one. It has that memory card support, which is actually pretty cool. The two USB ports on the back, and then one USB port on the front. Now, the advantage of having those two HDMI ports on the back is pretty much if you want to, hook up a second console to your Xbox One. I've seen a lot of people actually connect a Nintendo Switch or something like that and have it output through your Xbox One instead of actually going through and putting it into another HDMI port. So it's kind of a really cool thing and a cool concept, and I'm kind of saddened that Microsoft didn't add that back into the Series lineup, but I think it's totally okay. But with the Xbox Series S, you are getting that memory card expansion, which is really cool, but everything else is roughly about the same. Another big thing to keep in mind is that with the Xbox One S, it is a bigger console than the Series S, which is kind of hard to believe because the One S at the time was super small, but the Series S overall is a smaller console, which I actually do like. And the fact that it's smaller and it's a more powerful machine, I just love seeing things like that for sure. Now, features wise, you are able to do 4K on both consoles, which is a given, but you do have the ability of doing 4K at 60 on the Xbox Series S. And on top of that, you will probably be able to do 1440p at 120 frames per second, which is awesome. And I think 8K capability eventually as well, which is huge. The Series S is a cool console when it comes down to those things. The Xbox One S can only output in 4K, which, like I said before, is still perfectly fine for a lot of people out there, and I honestly don't see a big difference between 1080p and 4K, but I honestly don't play that many games either, so that's probably a given. But like I said before, the One S does have the advantage of having that disc slot, and the Series X does have that disc slot, so if you want to have it, you can spend more money. It's kind of like a luxury feature now, but the One S has that capability, so for all those games that you have, that are already on the Xbox One, you won't really be able to play them on the Series S. unless you bought them online or something, or if you can somehow make a CD driver that works for the Series S out, externally. I don't know if those are going to happen or whatever, but that's still a really cool option that you have on the Xbox One S. Even though it's an older console, you kind of have a better feature in that sense, which may be a make it or break it for you, in all honesty. So, and in terms of that really pretty much covers it up in terms of the, internal and the stock features and stuff. Now, in terms of the RAM, you're actually getting more RAM on the Xbox Series S, which is really cool. The Series S has 10 gigabytes of RAM. The One S has 8 gigabytes of RAM from the models that I've seen. And I can definitely tell you that's a good advantage for sure. I don't know if it's just because of the RAM I would go and upgrade, but it's definitely like a plus or an add-on that the Xbox Series S does have an additional 2 gigabytes of RAM. So I think that in and of itself is a really, really awesome feature as well. And on top of that, this may even be a bigger deal than the RAM in my opinion, and that is the built-in SSD that we have on the Series S versus the hard drive on the Xbox One S. And this in and of itself is a humongous difference in my opinion. This can cause games to open up way faster. The reading and writing can be much faster on games as well. So if you're stuck on load times a lot, this will definitely increase those. Just that in and of itself, even if there was the same amount of RAM and all that, you have that humongous advantage of having that SSD, and that is awesome. I love seeing those type of things, and the fact that this console supports it is awesome. So definitely when it comes down to that, that's really cool. I will tell you though, once you're booting up the consoles and everything and going through the both consoles UIs and everything, not a ginormous difference by any means, but what I can tell you is that for sure, the UIs on both are very, very similar right now. But because the Series S is the newer one, there will be a time where the One S is not supported, and the Series S will continue to get updates, and there's going to be way more features eventually on the Series S than on the One S. But as of right now, there are a ton of similarities between the two, and I don't think that's a problem. I think that's a really, really good thing for sure. The One S may be a little bit slower here and there if you're trying to, go between the settings and quickly go out and go to the Microsoft Store or something. There can be some different glitches and stuff that sometimes happen on the One S I've experienced, but for the most part, it's a very smooth experience on both. And like I said, visually they're about the same, but a humongous thing to keep in mind is that gaming will theoretically be better on the Series S. It'll be able to handle more games. All the games are backwards compatible on both consoles. So if you have the Xbox Series S, you can play Xbox One S games, and any console that the Xbox One S was able to play, including the 360, I think original Xbox, some titles there too, you will actually be able to play those on the Series S as well. So basically the Series S can do everything the One S can do, but not vice versa. And that is another humongous thing to keep in mind. As of right now, the gaming library is going to be about the same, so there's not like a huge urgency to go and update in my opinion. I think if you currently have an Xbox One S, there's really not like a pressing reason for you to go and update. But if you currently just have a lot of money, or if you're able to get a pre-order of the Series S somehow, then by all means keep it. Now on the controllers, they're a little bit different as well. There is a dedicated share button on the Xbox Series S controller, but if you're going from one controller to the other, luckily there's not a steep learning curve. They're about the same. There's just not that extra black part up top. But other than that, they're both very, very similar for sure, which is something I really do like. I love the One S controller and I love the Series S controller more than I like the Series X. I love those white controllers. I don't know why. The black ones are great too, but the white controllers are some of my favorites for sure. So in terms of the outside, that really pretty much covers it up. And I can kind of tell you right now, like I stated before, if you're able to get a pre-order of the Series S somehow, but then by all means get it. It is going to be a serious cool console. It's going to have a lot of capability. I've been using it for a little bit. It's definitely not like the craziest thing in the world, but it's for sure a really great console. If you can even spend some more money, get the Series X. But what I can tell you is that with the Xbox One S currently right now, it still has a ton of capability for sure. It's not like you're going to go from the One S into the Series S and see immediate changes. You may see some things with the loading speeds, like I stated, with maybe some lag here and there. The Xbox Series S will definitely clean it out. But currently, the gaming library is about the same. The Series S is here to stay for many, many years, just like how the original Xbox One and the Xbox One S were here. And, those consoles came out years ago. So for the Series S, this is kind of like the starting point. Eventually, we're going to be getting the Series SX or whatever. I don't know what they're going to call it. And that'll basically be able to do everything the Series S can do and more. And so you're really not missing out on too much right now, but within the next year or two, that's when we're going to be getting exclusive titles, a bunch of new capabilities like that 1440p at 120 frames and 8K in the future. We're going to be getting a ton of different things too, but as of right now, if you have a One S, I think it's totally okay for you to keep it. On top of that, for you to even take advantage of those like 4K at 60 and 1440p at 120 and 8K, you will need to have TVs and screens that, can support that. If you have like a 1080p monitor, like it's not going to be able to do you any justice if you upscale that. But if you get a 8K monitor or something like that, that's when you're going to be able to play those consoles and play those games at that level. The One S probably won't be able to support it if I'm being honest, but you do get some capability with the One S that the Series S does not have. That additional HDMI port, which is awesome. And on top of that, the disc slot, you don't have that on the Series S, which honestly kind of sucks a little bit. I wish it did have it, but there's nothing we can really do about it. So that's another pretty big advantage for the One S in my opinion. So when it comes down to it, I'll probably tell you the Series S is the better one for sure, but the One S I think has a lot of capability too, and if you currently have it, I wouldn't really go upgrade like right now, but probably within a year from now, a year or two, then by all means go for it. That's probably when you're going to see some more features and stuff that really make the Series S stand out. So that really pretty much covers it up. If you guys have any other questions or anything, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that means so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it means so much if you guys can hit that. Also check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my other channels. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.